Are you ready?
Irashaimase! Ohayo gozaimasu! It is me, Andres Salazar, with your Manga Minute, 5-minute manga review. We're going to today talk about Black and White by Taiyō Matsumoto. And this is my first introduction to his work, and I was really impressed. But before we get that, little what's going on here. This is a breakdown of scenes. I'm working on editing this documentary about this little town in Arizona and all the kind of tumultuous conflicts that are happening there. So if you want to learn more about that film and what I'm doing creatively, go to the Patreon, which is in the link below. So check that out, the description on my comic books, the film I'm editing, and all that kind of stuff. It is it's not easy, let me tell you. Editing this film is, it's kind of going in reverse order when you're doing a documentary. Instead of having a script and going to shoot it, it's like I'm shooting stuff and now I'm like trying to piece it into a narrative. It's not easy. Okay, enough of that commercial. Now let's talk about this book, Black and White. I'm unfamiliar with Matsumoto's work. I've heard of him. I've seen, I think there's a book called Tekkonkinreet, something like that. They didn't know it's really popular. He's considered one of the big manga guys. And I bought this for $5. I've bought volume 2 and 3. And I don't know where I got it. It wasn't Japan. I got it before Japan. It was someplace. And this retails for $15 by Viz, published here in the States by Viz. They translated it. And I have to say, right off the bat, this is one of the best $5 purchases I've made. It is very unique. It is very different. It is not what you would consider the stereotypical mainstream manga. It is, and you know, nowadays that can't be said because art styles are changing. Manga's becoming wider in scope and variations. It used to be manga was a certain style, like it was kind of like Astro Boy or it was kind of like Gundam, and there's certain kind of things that it was known for. But now manga, i.e. comics created by Japanese people in Japan, is very broad. There's a big spectrum of the work, just like here in the States with Western stuff. This was made, this has got to be in like the 90s, right? When was this? This was published originally, 99. That's what I'm seeing here. First published in 99. That's by Viz. So this could have been published before that in Japan, and I don't know the answer to that. But it's at least 25 years old or so. And it's good. I'm gonna turn the camera over so you guys can see it, but the takeaway is unique, great drawing, wonderful black and whites, the spotting of the blacks, visually entertaining, interesting story. Pick it up. That's like right off the bat. So let's turn the camera over and let's take a look at this. Let's do it. Okay, guys, here's the book. Let's take a look. Again, this was a really nice find. I was happy. I was pleased. I think what happened was I didn't know it. I thumbed through it and I was like, oh, this is different. Let's get this just to kind of like read something a little different. Right off the bat, you notice that the line work is all done either with like, I'm assuming all these lines are either a tech pen, kind of rapidograph type micron, or he's just using a very Control G pen and not having any line variation. There's no line variation pretty much in the whole, like all the contour lines. It's got contour lines that really remind me of things you see in Europe, like even like Mobius, that kind of work. Although when you look at Nausicaa by Miyazaki, he also has the same style. But this kind of work, you don't see that often. I mean, now I think you might see it more in manga, but back then in the 90s, early 2000s, you didn't see it like this. So it's got a kind of a different, other than, traditional Japanese comic book style stuff, which I really dig. So I'm going to call it European. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Did I tell you about the blacks? I love the way the blacks are spotted. Look the way there's blacks that are put in here just at the right, just the right amount, just to keep it visual interesting, to keep everything seen. There's very little duo shade and that kind of thing. It's mostly white and black. And especially the buildings and all the shading and shadows from these buildings are just really neat. Also, another thing to note visually is a lot of the frames have that fisheye distorted look, which is really kind of cool. I mean, it's all hand done. There's no rulers except for the borders, which kind of makes it even look more like hard. Everything is done by hand with that contour line that's so well done. All the buildings, a lot of these fisheye lens kind of distortions, a lot of this stuff, just really cool visuals. That's really kind of neat. Look at these buildings. There's a simplicity to it, but yet it all looks like it's real. It's in the three-dimensional, kind of place. Like, look at this. This is a great, just right here, this little panel here. Just really kind of neat stuff. I'm impressed. It's really well done, and again, I find him very unique. Like, look at this panel here with the mouth. You just wouldn't do this. You would. It just wouldn't. This is just not what you would see normally. Look at this panel here with the angle. You see how its angle's coming up. You see clout. You see the electrical pole, telephone line, and then you see some of the words on the building signage, and the characters up there. It's just really cool angles. It makes it very dynamic. It makes it very interesting. The simplicity of the buildings and the cars, again, because of the blacks that are in here, it works completely. And this even reminds me a little bit of like the work that was done in the 60s, like Zap comic stuff, Crumb, like the little Yellow Submarine, that kind of stuff that was done back then. It's got a bit of that kind of flavor. I mean, yeah, none of this is ruled, all these buildings here, but I think it totally works well. Yeah. The story is about these two kids, black and white. They're kind of hoodlums. They're in this gang called the Cats. They're kind of causing trouble. I wouldn't say that they are rogues with a heart of gold. I haven't got that far yet, but they're a little roguish, kids. There is a kind of a mafioso guy, this guy, Serpent, who is working on his machinations with the underworld and Yakuza and trying to do his stuff. And so there's some conflicts between these kids, the organized crime, there's the daily life stuff that's happening, about friendship, it's about all this kind of stuff. It's really cool. So the story is interesting. It's kind of serious. It's not kind of played for gags. There's no kind of humor. It's pretty real. There's even like these kids get beat up. Like there's these guys here that just like beat the tar out of these kids. You don't see that very often where children just get pummeled. But here's this scene here coming up where he just gets the crap kicked out of him. He's just gonna get womped. But check these. They're just really cool. Again, a lot of these fun little like distorted fisheye lens type of camera work. Even this here is distorted a little bit. If you look at it, you see everything's like, but the faces are good. All this is just, it's really well done. Technically, creatively, I'm impressed. So, I think that's it for now. I would say go check this out. Most of you probably already know about it, but if you don't, check out Taiyō Matsumoto's work, Black and White. I will most likely look up some more of his work and get some. I think that book, that Tekkonkinreet, something like that, I'll probably pick that up too. So really impressed with this book. Definitely something to kind of study and look at and learn from. So there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you all, and more is coming up in the days to come. Thanks. Bye.